Okay. Um, Good afternoon, good evening. I am Kay, and this is Morally Loaded, and I'm here with Tali of Tali Botz. And I think today we're planning on, well, we're going to talk about a few different things. And I know we were talking about, oh, I'm getting some feedback. Hold on just a second.
From me?
Okay. No, it was, I had the stream open in my other tab, so I closed it.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, so we both watched Club Random, Bill Maher's interview show, and the most recent guest was Anna Kasparian, and both of us are or used to be, I don't know, fans or appreciate Anna, and recently, it's been a little bit more difficult to be a fan of Anna, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Been painful.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So we watched.
It's not even that recent.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even that recent, frankly. It's escalated. I mean, she has become like cartoonishly bizarre in the last like even 6 months or so to a year. But really, she's been on a disappointment slide for me ever since she came out as basically semi less woke. I was very hopeful and like really resonated with her story of changing her mind and sort of ideological realignment. But yeah, I feel like she hasn't quite stuck on that path.
Yeah, it seems that I think like one of the most frustrating things is like she constantly, or not constantly, she often talks about going from being woke or that progressive or viewing like those tribal politics. She often talks about that and talks about how things have changed for her. She talks about how she used to view everybody on the right as evil, bad people, cartoonishly so, and how silly that is. And it seems to me that she's currently doing the exact same thing, just with a different group of people. It just to such a degree, and in such a complete way that it's like I want to shake her, and be like, what the fuck? Like, how do you not see that you're doing the exact thing that you're talking about? Like, having been one of the biggest regrets and mistakes of your career as a journalist.
Yeah, it seems so blatant, like you're saying. It's like it's almost like it's a joke, right? Because she's still talking about it, and she brought it up with Bill. Right about viewing Republicans as evil and viewing everyone who disagreed with her as evil, and she talks about change. And again, something that's you and I relate to, and we kind of talked about this in our conversation about how and when we left the left. And I think that phenomenon is real. Like, and again, this is why I resonated with her so much when she came out with this ideological turn. Because I really despised Republicans at one point in my life. I thought they were basically evil, right? Or just callous. Basically, I thought those were the only two options that you could end up a Republican, is you had bad intent or you were just like greedy, basically, which is obviously a horrific and inaccurate way to view the world and to view half the country. But yeah, she's just doing the same cartoonish thing with Zionists, right? She has just moved to the target. So it's not actual open-mindedness. It's not like an actual generosity of spirit or an actual like humbleness of like maybe I don't, because that was part of it too that was so relatable in her story, was like I realized I didn't know that I wasn't the arbiter of truth, that just because something came from my side that it, that it wasn't necessarily right. And it feels like that's really gone to the wayside. And I was slightly excited for this conversation because I think one of the cool things about Bill's show, about Club Random, the podcast, I've been able to see a lot of people in like a new light. For some people who maybe even don't necessarily deserve it, like I remember when Matt Gaetz was on Club Random, and Bill, I don't know if did you watch that episode?
I didn't see it, but they referenced him being there. I think it was right before the fires or something to that effect. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They talk about that conversation. And I remember watching it too. And I had the same feeling that Bill did, which was like, wow, he's a normal, nice, funny guy, you know, like he came across really well. And again, I've had that experience watching lots of different people. Now I think Matt Gaetz, if he actually is that sweet, nice guy, then he's on a total grift right now. Cause it's always hard to know if people are grifting or have, you know, have a mind virus. But, so even people that I really like don't even think deserve the benefit of the doubt, I've been able to like see in a positive light on his show. So I was looking forward to this conversation. And you have clips pulled up. Yeah, we're gonna watch some clips with the audience.
Yeah, I have a couple. Yeah, I have a couple clips pulled up. I didn't clip anything from their actual like I guess the whole point of contention comes up with them talking about Israel, Palestine, and the whole conflict there, and Bill being obviously more broadly sympathetic or in support of Israel, and Anna being very against Israel. I don't even want to say it's only in support of. I can't even classify her as like just supportive of Palestinians because she's just so anti-Israel. It feels like, you know,
right.
So it's not so much from the argument because that I don't think that was necessarily the point. But I have a few about her talking about, I guess, like her views on politics and how that has changed, and then after to show, you know, I guess, just to see how they got along afterwards, and then like to juxtapose that, I guess, from what they put out on TYT yesterday. So let's on this stage. Here we go. And just bear with me, I'm not super okay. So it's just short one here.
And so when I talk about the period of my life when I was the most miserable, I wasn't able to see the good in everyone, right? And so I was very much in the mindset of who you vote for demonstrates what your values are. And if I have determined that the person you voted for is a bad actor or immoral, that means you're bad and you're immoral. And it is a terrible place to be where you think half the country is awful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like we were saying before, like
so
her in
relatable
her own words. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's one more.
For me, it's about a person's actions and whether or not they are wittingly hurting others and totally okay with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good standard.
Yeah. And I love political debate. I really do. And I forget oftentimes when I'm engaged in a passionate, you know, political debate that not everyone thinks the way I do, because I'm able to get as fiery as we need to as we're, you know, arguing. But once the debate's over, it's over, right? We just had a policy debate. Like, it doesn't, just because we have different points of view doesn't mean that I'm going to write you off and I'm done with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So those were, I think, two that, like, we can see her talking, I guess, a little bit before they get into like the whole Israel-Palestine debate, just about, you know, not, how do you say, like, not viewing just like people who vote differently or see policy differently as like completely like evil people, like worthy of contempt, right? So, and this is what she's been saying for quite a while now, right? Like,
This was the thing. She like went on and started she started like going on podcasts and talking to people that she had previously thought of as evil, right? And just like these sort of olive branches. And not to be too cynical, but I am pretty cynical about her. Because we're just kind of like the point that you're trying to make with these clips is like the distinction, like the game that she sort of played. And I don't even know if it was a game or if she changed her mind after, but in this interview with Bill, she's very, very friendly. She it comes across to me as phony, and obviously people should watch for themselves and determine if they think she was being authentic or not. But like a bit contrived. Like I feel like she's trying to be very in control of her face, a lot of like forced laughter. Like I think it comes across in the video like Anna wants them to get along, which I think is good. Like that's pro-social, that's good human behavior. That is more along the lines of what she's saying, right? Be able to engage with people and like people that you disagree with, even on like important things. But it did feel a little contrived. Again, it felt like almost a bit of an insecurity. Again, I'm probably projecting there, but it seems like Anna really wanted them to get along. And Bill really can get along with literally anyone, right? I mean, he's famous for being like Trump's #1 hater and then going to the White House to meet Trump and having a good time, you know, and still standing in opposition to him. But so Bill can get along with anyone. And interestingly, in this conversation, Bill says at one point, when they've gone down the Israel-Palestine rabbit hole for a while, he has this candid moment where he's like, I'm having a hard time getting back to feeling nice, basically, you know, like feeling warm and even wanting to continue this conversation with you. And there's just like this tense emotional tension, I feel like, that's kind of playing out throughout it. But yeah, she reiterates throughout and not just reiterates verbally, but I think she tries to model the behavior, right, of like we can disagree and get along. And I'm excited for you to tell me about the TYT show the next day, because I didn't watch it, but I did I saw the next day Jank tweeting about Bill, and I was like, okay, here we go, basically. But so why don't you pick up there?
No, I agree. There was like a lot of like looking like she wanted to get along with him. I think that's like totally, you know, on an interview show that doesn't like, I don't notice that as much. Do you know what I mean? Because like it is specifically, you know, I guess kind of the point in some ways.
Right.
But she did seem eager to talk about the Israel issue, which I had like noticed before they got into it. And I have a couple other clips to pull up after, like to show, I guess, after. I think this is one that comes a little bit after they have that discussion where she is talking about, you know, well, like how she's able to have these disagreements and it's fine. You know what I mean? So I'll play this one and we can react to that.
I am able to sit with people I disagree with.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. We disagree on this issue. I don't think that this issue alone is the makeup of who you are as a person. So I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
I think that we need to be able to have these kinds of discussions, as fiery as they are, because this is how we come to a solution or a conclusion. You need the tension. I think the tension is a good thing. At some point, this country lost the ability to sit with that tension, because that's where we grow. That's where we learn, right? And so, you know, you've brought up some thought-provoking things. I hope I've brought up some thought-provoking points. I doubt that was the case, but
yeah. So, yeah. So this is like right after they get into it, right? And it's like she's being friendly with him. We need to have these conversations. These are good to have. It's like not, you know, I'm not writing you off as a person morally, just because we disagree on this. Like, I don't think you're bad. So that all sounds good, right? And like throughout the rest of the interview,
Yeah.
you'll notice that they keep joking around and they're friendly, and they end on like they continue for at least like a half an hour beyond the debate, so I think when I saw the like, I don't know if they're clips or the short videos that they put up on TYT about it, like how they were talking about the interview, it was just like surprising, or maybe not surprising. Maybe it's like not surprising at all, but like just given that this was, I had just watched this and then I went there to see, oh, I wonder if they like, mentioned anything about it. And it was so negative. It was like, what the fuck? Like, on one hand, you're saying we need to do this. On the other hand, you seem to be completely morally like indicting him the next day. So like, how does this?
Yeah, and I'm glad you played that clip, because she really does. She lays it all out there, right? Of like of how of the idyllic way for us to handle disagreements, right, in a civil society. And I think it kind of speaks to, like, I don't even know what the right word is, like codependency is what's coming to mind, but I don't even know if that's the right word. But between Cenk and Anna, because Cenk flying off the handle is expected, just like you should expect it to come at any and all times, but it feels like for Anna, after having this conversation and saying those words that you just played, Kay, it seems like it would have been incumbent on Anna to, not that she has to condemn Cenk, I get that, they both have each other's backs in that way, but she should have said, like, listen, I still like the guy, that was her opportunity to say, like, I don't agree with Cenk here, like, I know it got heated, but that, it's fun for me. Because that's what she was saying in the interview, is like, it's a sport for her to do these types of debates, right? Of course I can compartmentalize and I can separate. And there's also just something like, while I appreciate what she said to Bill, and I don't appreciate that she sounds like basically walked it back on her show the next day, she was not being honest even in what she said to Bill. And again, maybe that's not entirely charitable, because I don't know that she was lying, but it was simply not an honest assessment of how she treats people, right? Saying that, she said, like, I don't think that you are just this one thing, but the way she talks about Zionists is that they are, I mean, she doesn't use coy language. She doesn't say, we have different views of how the Middle East should look, but I know that we all want the peace and thriving of both peoples in the land. She says Zionists are scum of the earth, like scum of literal. I mean, she absolutely does treat people, maybe other than Bill Maher, maybe because Bill was a known entity, right? He's like a real person that she couldn't totally, make into a caricature. But any other person, random person online who's a Zionist, right, person who likes Israel or is from Israel or whatever, she absolutely completely demonizes them. So she wasn't even really accurately portraying herself there, but then it sounds like she went right back on it. So okay, I'm anxiously awaiting to watch this. I haven't seen any of this yet.
Okay, so I'll pull this up. I'm not going to let it play all the way through, obviously, because I don't want to get struck. But I think we'll hear what Cenk does, and then I think Cenk makes stronger claims, we can say that, than Anna does. But she doesn't seem to push back on them, and it almost is like she's letting him do the talking, or letting him make stronger claims and not pushing back on it. You know what I mean? Maybe that's on purpose or not. I don't know. But okay, well, let me play this.
2 cents.
Yeah. So look, I think Bill is anti-intellectual. I think he's a racist and a bigot. And I'm going to try to show that to you guys today. I'm also happy to debate him anytime, but I don't think he'll do that. And so he's a guy who is a bigger problem because look, there's a lot of racists and bigots in the country, but he's celebrated. Like HBO gives him millions of dollars, and the elite love Bill Maher, and he's paradoxical too because there's plenty of things that I agree with him on. But when he gets to the issue of Israel or Muslims, he's really as deranged as anyone in American media.
We'll come back to some of his claims, including the idea that Israel is not an expansionist project and all of that in just a minute. But before we do, there was this gotcha moment, which I want to clarify the way I answered it. So it had to do with where in the Middle East I would like to live, given the dress I'm wearing. So I'll let the video play out, and then I'll give you more details.
If you had to live,
So hold on, I'll pause it before they go into that. Yeah, so it just, even just like with the setup of how they're going to play the clip, it just seems like she is not happy with him, that he is bad, for lack of a, better descriptor. That's kind of like the vibe that's coming off. And Cenk is like, he's an anti-intellectual racist bigot. So,
And she just smiles and comes in on the next line, right? She doesn't say, I wouldn't go that far or whatever. Yeah, well, and it is just so ironic because again, when she came, her ideological turn was an anti-woke one. She didn't go full anti-woke, and I have more thoughts about that. But part of her thing, it actually makes me crazy. Her whole thing and part of like what pushed her in her views was her audience reacting so negatively to her like moderately, not even heterodox, sort of centristy views on things like crime and some trans stuff, that they were all calling her racist, right? She had spoken publicly about being assaulted basically in her neighborhood.
yeah.
She didn't say anything about the race of the assailant, and I'm pretty sure in the end she said the person was white, but she got called like racist by her audience, and a bunch of people like unsubscribed and all of this. And it's just like that. And so it only mattered to you when it was about you, I guess. Like it just never general. I guess that's how I feel about her, is like when I went through my process of like de-woking and whatever.
Yeah.
And I've already said this to you very explicitly. It was totally the ways that wokeness bit me and my identity in the ass that woke me up to it, that like brought this to my attention. But then it generalized out. You know what I mean? Like it went from like Jews are not evil oppressors, and whatever in this oppressor-oppressee hierarchy. And then it went to and white people are not evil oppressors, and actually making white people being the butt of the joke is not funny. It's actually bad. It's actually racist. Like it generalized out for me. And what started as being about me and in sort of plain self-interested terms, my view on the world actually sincerely changed. And it's like, so it only mattered when you were being called racist? Because that it is so notable. The first words out of Cenk's mouth, Bill Maher is a racist and a bigot. Like, okay, it's just a smear job right off the top. And I even think too, and I know I'm just like I'm being a total hater right now, and that it is what it is, but this comes across as insecure, I think. Even them having this reaction about it, like wanting to relitigate it on your show where like Bill doesn't get a right of reply and stuff. It feels like, okay, big shot, if you were so upset by this question, this gotcha question about the dress, then you should have like fought him more in the conversation or something. Like it just makes the whole thing seem phony. And again, I guess like it's not,
seems like
the reason they're doing it is right, or even just like this is the internet, like everything is React content, like it's content, so like it could even be just that base of a reason to do it. But yeah, it does feel like a little damage. And also I think it's partially damage control because she's probably getting shit from her audience because she said some things that appease Bill and all of that, and it's just very pathetic to watch.
I think there is an element of that to it. She at one time during their little debate told them that he made some good points. She at one point, I think with the whole dress thing, she's like, well, I could see a woman saying it would be Tel Aviv. Like, so she made these concessions. I think that she was maybe, I don't know. She says she's so well read on it. I can't conceive of her being like ill prepared for a conversation like that. Maybe she didn't feel comfortable pushing back in front of him. But so here's the thing. If you don't feel comfortable calling him a hateful bigot to his face, then maybe you shouldn't feel comfortable endorsing calling him a hateful bigot not to his face, right? Like,
yeah,
maybe that thing that stops you from going there in person should like, maybe that should like moderate some of what you're saying when the person isn't there. And I just think it's like, she understands theory of mind, right? Like she talks about it, like about how she didn't have it for all these people, but like still cannot conceive that people could look at the same facts and information that she is and come to a different calculation, not an evil calculation, not a fuck the Muslims calculation, not a fuck Palestinians, they don't matter calculation, but a different calculation. Like that all of the death is fucking horrible and it's all tragic, but I don't put I put the responsibility of that on not on Israel. Like I think
or more or less on Israel.
Or more or less. Yes, like if we want to say like yes, broadly speaking, because they put it all over there. So I put more of it on the actions of terrorists and less of it on, on Israel just being a bad place that I should think scold them because they're bad. You know what I like? It's just so like what the fuck, right? So
well, and he really like. I think one of his most impactful lines in the conversation during their little Israel-Palestine debate is he was like, have you ever heard of two bad choices, Anna? Like not everything they're like, okay, yes, ideally they would go in and they would precision target only the terrorists and not a single hair on an innocent person's head would be touched and all of this stuff. But sometimes you have two bad choices, right? And you have to choose the lesser of two evils. Just like, oh, of course I understand that as an American, who votes in our political system. I understand that principle. And it's like, great, then fucking apply it. Apply it then. And I think you're right. Like she got really stumped by the dress question, which was interesting. And I think part of the reason that she's doing all this cover is because a lot of people, fans and maybe not even fans, were reacting to that piece online. And frankly, that was a gotcha question from Bill. And it wasn't a very, like Anna could have had a good answer. Like it wasn't a very refined question from Bill. Like, yeah, it's true. And like the safest one where you can be most likely that things in the society won't change in some dramatic way in the next month or year or whatever, it's Tel Aviv. But there are other cities in the Middle East where women dress how they want. It's few and far between, but there are answers. Like Anna could have embarrassed him in that moment, right? Had she actually had a response, which was very telling. But yeah, so she is totally just doing damage control here because there were people online, quote tweeting the videos from that clip and saying, oh, here and this, clearly he's never been to this city or whatever. So there was a way to just like to win in that part of the debate, and she didn't do that. She made it all friendly, made nice, and then goes and talks shit after.
No, I totally agree. But let's let this play out. So if somebody hasn't seen that, they will have a little bit more context.
In the Middle East. So tomorrow, Anna, you got to go live in the Middle East. Where would you live? Where do you think you'd be comfortable in that dress?
I'm sure it would not be comfortable in this dress in any of the various Middle Eastern countries that have been destabilized by
You're not really blaming it on Whitey.
Listen.
Are you? You're blaming Islam on Whitey?
I'm not blaming Islam on Whitey.
What you're saying is we destabilized. That's why you can't wear that dress?
Did we not destabilize?
Wait a second.
We were funding terrorist organizations in Syria during the Syrian civil war. Starting under the Obama administration.
That's why
did that not destabilize Syria?
No, what's destabilized?
There's a literal Al-Qaeda terrorist.
We're talking about your dress.
Why? It looks good. I know it looks good.
You're saying you can't wear that dress in Syria because of Whitey destabilizing?
I didn't say that.
Okay, that's what it's saying. Okay, great.
But the United States did destabilize various Middle Eastern countries. Are you going to deny that?
I probably wouldn't feel comfortable wearing that dress in Syria today. considering the fact that a former Al-Qaeda terrorist who we armed covertly is now the leader of Syria. Correct. Am I blaming that on Whitey? Like, why make this racial? This isn't about race at all, at all. U.S. foreign policy does not equate Whitey. But funding and arming an offshoot of Al-Qaeda in Syria, was meant to destabilize that country, as we...
Okay, so I'll just pause it there. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, it seems that she does immediately pivot to, it's not the country's fault that I couldn't wear the dress there, and then is like, no, that's not what I'm doing. Like, it doesn't have to be about Whitey, but like it's like an immediate like deflection of like, but it's not their fault that I can't wear a dress.
No, it's
like,
incredible. It's literally incredible. I'm actually again, this is my first time watching the TYT segment, but I can't believe she showed that part of the clip, because their conversation about the dress drags on a bit.
Yes.
I'm actually shocked that she put in that context, because Bill was correct. She did blame Whitey. She literally said, well, there are lots of cities that I couldn't because of how we've destabilized the Middle East. And then she does this thing here. And this is all lie, but this is a thought that just occurred to me. She does this thing like, I didn't say Whitey. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's true, you didn't say Whitey. But when leftists are talking about evil American regime and evil Western intervention, they mean white. They mean white nations hurting brown nations. But interestingly, there is this like thing about the political space that, and you labeled this conversation like post-tribal politics, the political zone that she's occupying right now, where I want to say she actually doesn't make things really racial. Like, I don't know that she pulls the race card so much anymore. She certainly did, when she was, like hyper woke as I was too. But she does do the America bad thing, and ironically, that is where there's the overlap of the crazy woke left and like the cringe woke nationalist right. The woke nationalist right doesn't blame Whitey, of course, right? Because they identify with Whitey, for lack of better terms, but they blame America. And those things are the same thing. Like, that is the meeting spot of the extreme left and the extreme right, is hating America, maybe for slightly different reasons, right? Maybe one side because they feel like they prioritize white people, on the other side because they feel like they don't prioritize white people enough or something. But I don't know if that's significant, but it just occurred to me that like there's something maybe true at what she's saying, that she wasn't making it a race thing, but she is absolutely, her worldview is the Hassan Piker worldview. Look at an issue in the Middle East, see which side has support from a Western power, and side with the other side, right? That is her totally simplistic worldview, is America bad, basically.
Yes. That's certainly what it seems to.
And then she gets to do the whole, well, I wouldn't want to live anywhere. I want to live in America. America is the best country in the world. Oh, are we the best? I thought we destabilized half the world. Like, and this is the annoying thing too. And I mean, this is kind of like happening.
The hypothetical, it's like, of course you want to stay in America. Yes, it's a hypothetical. It's meant to get at, a point that like you could rest that way in a place in the Middle East. That's all. And he wasn't even, and I think at some point Cenk goes on and it's like, oh, it's all these other Islamic countries, like, or Muslim majority countries you could, and that's true, but he's not saying Islamic countries only. He's saying Middle Eastern countries, where in that area, not outside of that area, where like other places that may be safer, that may also be a Muslim majority or Islamic country. You know what I mean? It was like, where in the Middle East? That was but she doesn't seem to, I don't know why she wouldn't be prepared for that. It just seems like a basic, it just seems like one of those questions that like somebody like her would have a canned answer to is all. You know what I mean?
Right,
Just
because
to-
it is a common gotcha.
Yes.
Right. It's the same thing. It's the same. Right. Like it's a tired. Frankly, it's a bit tired. Right. Not, and it's true and it's valid. And and to be fair to Bill, that's his number one thing that he preaches is the gender apartheid. Like, and he's been talking about the hypocrisy of the left because of the gender apartheid in the Islamic world, basically. So that really has been his thing for many years now. But yeah, it is one of the cheap shots. It's the gays for Gaza, right? Chickens for KFC, the feminists for Islam. Like he's making a point that has been done a million times. So yes, it is surprising that she didn't have some type of canned answer ready.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly.
Or to just even
like the best point.
She could have bit the bullet earlier too. She could have just said, well, obviously Tel Aviv, but here are the reasons why these other which still would be a, would still be a cop out, but at least, it was very weaselly.
Yeah. And to say that like it is Tel Aviv, that doesn't mean that like it wouldn't mean that anything Israel is doing would be okay anywhere. Like these things really have nothing to do with like how the war is like prosecuted, right? Like, so it's kind of like, but I feel like that's kind of like the whole thing in some ways is that people who get so anti-Israel can't even say that they won't even say because it's just like it's so the hatred becomes so all-consuming, you know what I mean, that they wouldn't even say maybe something obvious like that,
Well, and this is just like was clearly weighing on her so much because then so I see the jank tweet of like Bill Maher is the most racist, whatever, his rant that was similar to the rant that he just made on TYT. But then I saw Anna's tweet where she just tweets out, I would never step foot into Israel. And it's like, oh my God, okay. Yeah. And also like, is that
like I would rather die, like something like that.
But is that but is that even like, why do you even get credit for that? How is that like, in what way is that even like principled or bold or what? I don't know. I don't even really get it.
No. I don't.
It's like she gets to like, it's like she gets to pretend that she's participating in the boycott or something, like, oh, I would never step foot into it. It's like, first of all, they don't want you. Like we could start there. They don't. Israel is not begging for you to come, but it's just very immature. And again, to me, it just seems insecure. And I don't know if you have more to play from this clip, but I have another thought about the interview. But I don't want to jump ahead.
Well, I can play a little bit more of this, and then I wanted to put a couple of the clips. Anyways, let me put a bit more of this in there.
Now see as Christians, Alawites, and other minority groups in that country who even under the butcher Bashar al-Assad were pretty safe are now being targeted and killed by members of Ahmed al-Shara's honestly terrorist group. It's just the truth. I mean, he says that he's trying to rein it in, but it's still happening. It's just the truth. But look, I didn't want to take the bait because it's so obvious that he wants me to say like, well, obviously I would never want to live in a Muslim majority country. They're all dangerous barbarians. They're all animals. I'd want to live in Israel. But the fact of the matter is I would rather die before I step foot in Israel. And the reason why is because of the apartheid state. It's because of the fact that they put Jake's name on a missile that they then used to bomb children in Gaza, essentially sending a message. It might also have to do with the fact that IDF soldiers literally send me images of their weapons in an effort to scare me into silence. So no, I wouldn't step foot in Israel. I would actually feel a lot less safe in Israel as opposed to, I don't know, Beirut, Lebanon, Istanbul, Turkey. Okay, there are plenty of places in the Middle East where I would be safe. Even when it comes to Iran, I mean, this country is so unbelievably ignorant about the reality in Iran. There's a massive Armenian diaspora living in Iran right now. They dress just like I do. They go to church. There are churches in Iran. But, how am I going to bring that up when literally every 2 seconds I'm getting interrupted? And it gets back to, where would you want to live with a dress like that? Who cares what I want or where I want to live? Let's actually have a discussion about the substance of the foreign policy here. But anyway.
So, here, I'm going to pull her down.
First of all, to portray that as like, is it's a substantive question to ask. You didn't like the line of questioning, but he wasn't just asking where would you want to live. And no, he wasn't trying to get you to say that Muslim majority countries are hellholes. He was trying to see if you would be logically consistent. And he was trying to emphasize again his hobby horse, which is gender apartheid in Islamic countries. Like that is the thing that he has spent many, many years getting in trouble on the left for talking about. So yeah, and then let's just get back to the issues and stuff. And it's like, oh, you are so holier than thou. And I forgot, someone just said in the chat that she implies in the interview with Bill, she implies that she would be killed if she went to Israel because of the way that she talks about Israel. Yeah, and thankfully, Bill said back, he's like, well, no one's going to kill you because they're an open and free society. And you have freedom of speech there. Like, and it's just like, you are at Candace levels of paranoia and delusion and grandeur. Like, you're not that important. It's also just so incredible how many people think that like that Mossad is out to get them. It's really delusional. And this might be slightly controversial, but this comes from Palestinian activism largely. Like, I have a dear friend who's a Palestinian who she and I obviously disagree about, lots of things with regards to the conflict, but we have a lot of respect for each other, each other's families and all of this stuff. But she, like, my friend unironically gets nervous that the Mossad is listening in on our phone calls sometimes. She's being dead serious. Like, this is like a common belief in these spaces, basically. I'm just like, they're not. Like, they don't care about this conversation, or then I'll play into the joke sometimes. But like, this is like a really commonly held paranoia among pro-Palestine activists and stuff. So just to put a personal note in there.
That's just, I can't even imagine a person thinking, well, like a regular person, like maybe if you're doing certain types of like very high up, like activism and coordinating with certain people in a movement, I could see it. But like on a regular level, the amount, that's just fucking bananas, right? Like, but that just goes, that just goes with like all of this like propaganda and like misinformation about Israel and about Mossad and everything. And the people really buy it. And I have trouble understanding like the Jewish conspiracy shit, because there's really not that many Jews, and there's so many people, and it never, I mean, as a Jew, right? Like, it's hard for me to sincerely grapple with and make sense of knowing like other Jews and knowing our communities, and it's hard for me to really like look at it from a objective perspective without thinking it's like really funny,
ridiculous. Right.
Like so ridiculous.
No, and I agree. I actually feel kind of both ways about it. And this is something that I've wanted to do for a while, but it's a really thin line that I will be walking if I choose to do this at some point. And I've talked about this in smaller ways in different conversations, but one part of me completely agrees with you, and I do share in that, where it is actually comical, like I'm saying now about my friend actually believing that there are Mossad agents frequently listening into our phone calls, right?
Yeah.
So then that is like funny, and like you're saying, it's like knowing me, my family, my community, and like lack of organization, and whatever, and people, individual idiosyncrasies and all these things. But I also do get a lot of the Jewish conspiracy theories. This is the thing that I like want to have a whole conversation about, but I don't know how to do it in a way that's not going to just feed Jewish conspiracy theories. But like, I basically have, ironically, this sounds like what would be a P.F. Young title. And Kay and I are going to talk about Paul in a coming conversation, but I basically want to have a conversation that's essentially like what Nick Fuentes gets right about the Jews, because he gets a decent amount right. And there's this like weird thing going on where like Nick Fuentes kind of just, this is so, I know this is like bad, this is controversial what I'm about to say, and I hope I can explain myself properly, but in some ways Nick Fuentes describes the experience of being Jewish better than like a lot of other people on the left and the right. Like there are people on the left and the right who like to simplify it to being a religion, or you know, that it's just sort of just like every other group, and yeah, we're just like every other group in the sense that we're human and all of these things in those obvious ways, but like Nick's right about the particularism of Judaism, and there is a tenet of, I'm not gonna say tenet of Judaism because it's well, it is religious too, of being anti-assimilation. I mean, that's what the Hanukkah story is about like, you know, resisting the Hellenization of the Jews. Now, I think Jewish culture, you know, Judeo values line up. I think they were the inspiration for Western civilization in many, you know, cases. And so I think that it's not a problem, basically. Like a lack of assimilation of the average Jew is not going to create like a cultural issue in America or in, you know, in a Western nation. But there are like things that are just true. A lot of Jews, myself included, do feel a strong affinity for other Jews. That doesn't mean that I would go help a murderer Jew that I've never met before get out of, you know, get away with some crime at the expense of a bunch of innocent people in my community. No, nothing like that. But it is true that Jews, in just all the obvious ways, Jews get together and build our own institutions, and Jews do in the way that lots of cultures do. There is a level of nepotism, which is a human thing. It's not just a Jewish thing, but because we've successfully built our own institutions and we are above average in a lot of different fields, right? So there are like so many things that I think like the Jewish community spent so long just like calling anti-Semitic and not like grappling with. That we've made them into scare. Even just, I remember when I was a leftist, the idea of like Jewish over representation, it was like was a trope. And it's like, well, yeah, it's a trope and it's true. Jews are overrepresented in like every fucking high power field. And that's not because of a conspiracy, but if we don't even talk about it and acknowledge it, then people are going to believe the conspiracy that explains it for them.
Yeah.
So sorry, that was a tangent there.
No, and I agree with like what you're saying. I think anyways. We'll have to talk about it more to see like where the boundaries are. But overall, I don't think that this is like a unique thing to Jews, and I don't think Jews do it particularly so much more than other groups do. And maybe it's a little bit different because Judaism is like, it's a religion and a people. So it kind of like encompasses a little bit different than maybe just like a group of Christians and a group of people from like, who are, I don't know, from like, who are Irish or who are Italian or Protestant or you know, like, or whatever other religions there. So maybe because it's a religion and a people that the tie to it is like doubly reinforced as opposed to like a single tie. You know what I mean?
I think
so,
that's
So there's something there, but I think that this is just not a unique thing for like it for people. And I think what I feel gets twisted is that like it's always like, look at the Jews doing this together. It's like, yeah, well, look at everybody else doing their things together. This is not like,
no,
these
totally.
are not, and they're not the only
like,
people, and this is not the. So but do you see what I mean? It's just okay, yes, and
I do.
Why
no,
the
I totally do.
So it's like that double standard is like what I just that I have a hard time. And that's like part of the explanation of the anti-Semitism is like the double standard of.
No, I agree with you. And I listen, and again, like I do think Jews. Oh, sorry. I lost you for a second. But yeah, no, I agree with you, and it's obviously not just Jews. And I mean, Thomas Sowell and other people have written about this, right? It's sort of like it's successful minorities, and you do see this as the Indians and Pakistanis when they're living in sort of diaspora in other nations. So yes, it's not just a Jewish phenomenon, but it is it's especially true in some ways with the Jews, right? And again, there's something unique about the fact too that we are, like you said, it's this double reinforcement of the peoplehood and the religion. So like we have this extra thing that binds us in a way that maybe any of these other communities don't have that second part, right? So yes, you're all Irish, but then if someone, you know, if someone is an atheist or whatever, or they convert to a different religion, they might, feel aligned with another community or culture, where Jews have that kind of like, that double reinforcement, I guess. And we're just really small in number.
Yeah.
I think that can't really be, I feel like that maybe doesn't get emphasized enough. Like, I do think that plays into it, is just the fact that like, there is something familial about Jews from around the world, because we are like really a particularly small group. So in the way that like Chinese people in Singapore or whatever, like in different, across the world might also be these like hyper successful minorities and face discrimination in similar ways. There's, what, like a billion? How many Chinese people are there? There's like a shit ton of Chinese people in the world, right? So it's like there is just like a different.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to derail too much.
No, I think that's true. And I'll just add one more thing on that. Yes, it's a small group of people, and while Jews may not care that they're Jews, there are groups of people who care about people's Jewishness. So in some ways you're forced, I don't know if you're forced to care about it, but you're forced to be a little bit more aware of it. So even if you grew up culturally Jewish and you're an atheist, you know that there are people in this world for whom you will always be a Jew, and that says something negative about you. So in that way, it doesn't allow you to really move away from it, right? And it's like this double-edged sword. The people who have a problem with that will highlight that as a problem, and they are also the people who for whom that identity you cannot shed, and you will always be a Jew. And so they create.
No, you're so right. Yeah, you're so right. And it really is. It is very complicated, because I left that out of my analysis completely, but it's extremely important. And I mean, the simplest way to phrase it in like the modern version of this is like, anti-Semites create Zionists. Like, there are a bunch of Jews who, like we're saying, who are not part of the Zionist occupied government. They might grow up in very secular homes. Like, they know they're Jewish, and that's like how they recognize themselves, but like they're not functionally Jewish. They have no affinity for the state of Israel. And suddenly, like you're saying, Kay, they're realizing that they are being othered and they are seen as different. And it strengthens that identity, that Jewish identity. And it is this, I don't know if paradox is the right word, but of like throughout history of the Jews being like ghettoized, right? And like forced to be separate, and then being pointed to and saying, why do you insist on being separate and different and special? And again, it's like, I don't know exactly how to view it, because on the one hand, like, I'm glad, or rather that experience of othering for thousands of years means that we have this like coherent, really super coherent culture that survived for thousands of years in ways that so many other tribes and peoples and cultures just died, and especially to survive in a diaspora across the world in a pre-technological age. I mean, I see it as a miracle. I don't even know how what if I attribute that to God, but it's miraculous. Like it is when you think about it. The fact that we are here today identifying as Jews, coming from non-religious families, you know, across the world. So, but yeah, the experience of anti-Semitism or anti-Jewish discrimination also shapes the way the Jews see themselves and see the need for their community.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up one more clip from Anna on random. I think that this is there's just two more, so this is the second to last one, so I'll just play it.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom, but I'm listening, so you could just let it play and I'll be back shortly.
Okay, so I'll play both of them. Okay.
If you're only relying on partisan media. And that's what I was doing. I was very much in a bubble. I didn't realize I was in a bubble. So now it's like, I have to eat my vegetables. To me, eating vegetables as someone who works in media is reading and consuming content that you know is going to make you uncomfortable because it's going to challenge what your preconceived notions are. If you're only...
Okay, so there's that one, and then we're going to find the last one. Let's take a look. Okay, here we are. Second.
Right. Well, I guess.
Oh, hold on. All right, and this is the last one we have.
We got back to
a minute.
Look at that.
Told you we were capable of it.
We're totally capable of it. I'm so glad you came here to yell at me and laugh with me.
Yes,
and,
thank you for having me.
I would do it over in a minute.
Same.
I'm glad. Mostly, I think we are on the same page with so much stuff that matters about talking to each other and not cutting off and accepting the differences and.
I love my country and I love the people within it.
Yes.
And that means loving everyone, regardless of where they stand on politics. Once you see human beings as human beings and you don't boil them down to a political identity, you live a life that's far more enriched and you actually show that you do love your country. Like loving your country means loving the people within it. You know what I mean?
I do know exactly what you mean.
I mean,
all right, well.
All right. So
that's incredible.
It's just so it's wild that's the essentially the end of the interview and they're laughing and getting along and this is what we need to do. We need to have these conversations, not a moral indictment on your character, all of that, and then leaves and is just like
indicts his character,
bigot, dehumanizer of Palestinians. There's another TYT clip that I'm not gonna play, but where she goes into talking about how she just can't believe, how all these people are just, I don't know, just so okay to dehumanize children, So, yeah. And look, you don't have to agree with Bill. Okay. Like, let's even say he's wrong. Let's even imagine she's right and imagine he's wrong. And that's not my personal opinion, but like, even if, right, it doesn't have to mean that he's a fucking monster. Like you could just be like, how do you get to this? How do you get to this assessment? Like, tell me how you weight the information, because when I look at it, I see all of these things, right? And this leads me to place more responsibility here. And I hear you seem to know all the same things as me, but you're placing it elsewhere. Like, how do you weigh the various things that are coming into play and talk about that? Like, why are people
but
not
if
curious?
If Anna was capable of doing that, she wouldn't have the position on Palestine that she holds today. This is the entire issue with the conversation about genocide, is that the people who believe it's a genocide believe that anyone who disagrees with them supports genocide, not that we have looked at the same or maybe even different information, right? Because we live in, you know,
Mhm.
these like silos and echo chambers. But it's
Yeah.
like, it seems so, I mean, it's obvious to me because I'm the one who holds the opinion that it's not a genocide, but it's like, so obviously the conversation is whether or not it is a genocide. There is no one support. I mean, maybe there are 5 people on
Mhm.
the internet. Like there, but that's not anywhere near a majority of people. Most people don't believe that it is a genocide. And so how can people dehumanize children? Well, no, they're not dehumanizing children. They don't believe that children are being targeted, right? It's like a difference in analyzing the data in front of you, which she obviously doesn't do, because again, then she wouldn't hold the position that she does. But that clip that you just played, I'm really glad you did at the end, because it really is incredible. It just highlights.
Yeah.
It makes her look really bad. It makes her look like a fraud. Like you were lying in one of the spaces, and it's hard to know which one. Like I guess she was faking it with Bill, but again, then that makes it a little more pathetic, because you really wanted him to like you. Like the whole time you were really wanted it to like be good. And I even left like, it's like the Israel stuff got out of hand. So in Anna's mind, she's like, oh, we can like bond on the trans stuff. You know, she had to like prove her bona fides. They move on like briefly to like a trans women in sports, maybe, or like bathrooms. I don't know which conversation they were having, what started it. But you know, she was so excited to like get on Team Bill, you know, like, oh, here's an area where we're going to agree. And even her analysis of that was so disappointing, and just shows like she didn't go like that. Her turn basically stopped. She turned like 45 degrees and then just like stayed, you know, she didn't keep evolving, because her analysis of like the Wee Spa incident is like, you know, this black woman complains that there's a man in the locker room and whatever. And Anna's takeaway is, and that person wasn't a trans person. It turns out like they were, you know, like a sex pest and whatever, this and that, and not a trans person. And it's like, okay, you're at level 1 of the conversation, Anna. That person is a trans person. The truth is that trans is not one thing, you know? And like, and it's weird too, because that's not but by saying that, then she has to take another unpopular position, and she's not ready to do that, I don't think.
No, I don't know. I can't believe that she's incapable of viewing it like that. Like I think that's like too. I don't know. I think it's hard for me to even like fathom that somebody couldn't be like, they're just coming to a different calculation, knowing like what she knows. You know what I mean? In the year that we live in the world, and in the space that we inhabit, with all the conversations the meta conversations about, you know what I mean, about how we know things, and it's very, very difficult for me to believe that she can't do that. I guess that she won't do that. I think there's probably reasons why she won't do that. I think that there's incentives that prevent her from doing that. I think she is blowing up in popularity more now than they had been before. TYT numbers are up. I feel a little bit more cynical that it's like not a lack of, you know, intellect or ability, but it's like, I'm going to put the blinders on and you know, rise in popularity on the back of dead Palestinians. So that's kind of what it looks like.
So you think it's more calculated? Yeah, I don't know. And I appreciate that you're always willing to like lean into speculating on like what motivates people and like what's underlying this, because there are a lot of people who basically their their feelings, like it doesn't matter, you know, what matters is like what she's saying and what she's doing. And like, I get that. And like, okay, I'm with you, but I am really interested in people's motivations. Maybe partly it's a control thing. Like I just really want to understand. I feel a need to understand. I feel unsettled, right? If I don't feel like I have a grasp on what people are thinking and doing. But I also do think that it should factor into how to combat these things or challenge these things, you know, is what the motivation is.
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, so like, which one's the real Anna? You know, like it, because I accept what you're saying, that she's not dumb. So it's not lack of ability or competence in this arena. Part of me thinks like maybe is the Bill Maher Anna more, not even like more true, but like she showed her ability to do that, to hold two difficult things at once, right? So then when she goes back on the show, when she goes back in TYT, is that just going back into her hug box? You know, is it just tribal kind of at that point?
I think it's probably, I think maybe that it's that, you know, and I think she comes to the conclusion that she does with Israel and Gaza because I think she believes a lot of like wild and crazy shit. And I'm not sure if like how she,
if she believes it,
all of these, not believes it. I believe she's on that side, right? And I think that a person can honestly come to that conclusion if they see things differently than I do. But some of the things that she said over the past few months seem like so, like the 9/11 stuff, the dancing, like all of that shit that she had been talking about like watching Candace Owens and talking to Tucker. So it feels like, I don't know. It feels like it's
wait,
it's a bit
talking
more of
to
a
Tucker
grip.
like twice. Wasn't she on his show like twice in a couple months?
Yeah. So I think that there's something going on. Like,
yeah, I think she
motivationally.
There's something.
But,
sorry, no,
you know,
there's something going on. I struggle with this a lot with people. Like, I do think she's a true believer. There are motivations, attention and money and all of these things, and those are at play, I'm sure. But it does strike me that she believes what she's saying. Because if not, then she's an incredible actress. I mean, she gets so emotional. She gets so like, you can see her filled with rage, the veins like popping out of her forehead, that it's hard for me to imagine that that's like contrived in some way. I do think it's like real. Parker.
Yeah.
Stop it. So I think it's like real. I think she believes it. And then he said, it's like, how did things have gotten really crazy in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it back to P.F. Young again, who, again, ironically, I think he also has been deranged a bit by anti-Semitic conspiracy theories in the same way that I think Anna has. But Paul has identified this before, because he's spoken about people in his life who have kind of gone down like a Nazi rabbit hole. And he talks about how it retards the brain in like this literal sense. It does, like, and there is something, and this is just something that people kind of observe, like when people who are like really obsessed with the Jews or like really believe in it's like the more anti-Jewish conspiracy theories that you believe in, the more it takes over your brain. Like people like Tucker and Candace, it's one of the only things they can talk about. Like it consumes you completely, and entirely that is happening to Anna.
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck does this happen to normal people? I don't know. But a lot of people are predisposed to believe these things, and the Israel stuff and the war kind of like allows people to plug into it very nicely.
Yeah. The cultural moment is definitely kind of like trending in that direction. So even if you weren't, you know, necessarily moving towards that, it seems to be very popular right now. So I think that there's like, you know, something.
Well, I said it retards the brain, and Grassroots said, it made me retarded by proxy, and I wasn't that fucking bright of a bulb to start with. But yeah, it is. It's like dementing stuff, really.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of scary. Like, I don't think most of these people are a threat to Jewish safety, like physical safety. You know, I think they contribute to a hostile environment that's bad for Jews. But yeah, I don't know. It's really deranging. And it does feel like it just happens quickly and it just like eats people up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's Jank too. But I guess like was Jank always kind of open to it? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And then I just
don't
fall
know.
onto tropes and I'm like, well, you know, he's a Turkish man, so hating Jews was never that far out of reach for him, but like I don't want to overgeneralize there. Not that Jank has a issue overgeneralizing.
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard with Anna because she literally talks about from goat, like, you know what I mean? It's like watching somebody talk about how they don't do. It's like, you know, I used to be an alcoholic and now I'm not, and talking about how she's not, and like she's just sitting there with a fucking crack pipe. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So I just gave up one for the other. So
yeah,
it's kind of
no, yeah, we should tie that back.
That's the frustration. Yeah, it's just the frustration that I see with her. Yeah,
she gave up hatred of Republicans and right wingers because she realized some of them are on her side about certain things, and she has exchanged that out for hatred of Zionists, and it's just as visceral and irrational and morally loaded.
Yeah,
morally loaded. And yeah, it and there's just no, I mean, I just wish she would drop the whole shtick right now. Cause even again, like all of the Israel stuff aside, and I truly hate her position on Israel. And I think she is an anti-Semite at this point. She just is. I don't really care what's in her heart. She believes anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Like she believes crazy fucking things about Jews. But she just like, I just want her as an anti-woke person, as a truly anti-woke person. I want her to just stop fucking claiming any of that. You didn't have an ideological shift. You had the beginning of one, and then you turned around and you climbed back into your corner. And like I brought up the trans thing before, but it's like the only thing you really changed your mind. Like, okay, so you've decided the anti-woke queen has decided that birthing person is not ideal language. And that it should be okay to talk about being assaulted. Like, okay, you didn't exactly break the mold. Like, yes, those things are really taboo in the fringe online space that you've cultivated. But like, that's not, you're not really touching any third rails here, Anna. And like, I want to rip that away from her because like, you don't get to feel brave. You're not fucking brave. You don't take brave stances. Like you are a product of your little ecosphere. And I'm being so petty, but essentially I don't want her to feel brave because she's not brave. She doesn't have any.
Like she shifted towards where like popular opinion was heading. So that's what bugs me about it. Like I don't fucking care. Like just it was. To hear somebody be like, I've changed. I'm not like I don't demonize people for their politics anymore. And then to just watch somebody demonize people for their politics, it's like, fucking come on, like, and I don't think initially when she had this shift, and because I heard her talk a few times, I heard her on Bar Pod, I heard her on some other things, and she sounded a lot more. Yeah, she sounded a lot more like, down to earth, grounded.
Yes.
Anyways. So that was I was interested in that. I want to see somebody like figure things out and grapple with like actual stances and shit like that. And I don't believe she's doing that now. I don't think initially that she had set out thinking, she's going to go from like swing from like one cult to another, but that's the nature of cult. And like, that's what you have to be fucking super careful of. And, I have to be really careful of that too, you know,
Yeah.
not to just be like looking and listening to shit that tells me what I want to hear. I think I was talking to you last time about like, oh fuck, I started watching clips of certain things to like inform me of the entire content, and I was like, no, I can't do that. Like I have to sit down
Right.
now and like go back and watch those things because because the last time
Yeah.
I relied on clips to build out, you know, my understanding of a person's position, I was led so far astray. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I don't
That's
want
when I
that.
used
Like,
to believe that Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson were Nazis. Right. Last time I listened to
Yes.
clips of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah. And I think like too, I mean, I'm throwing a lot of daggers here, but like I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm a hypocrite, because what we're talking about in some part here is hypocrisy, basically.
Mhm.
And I'm conscious of that. We're all hypocrites to varying degrees, and
course.
you know, whatever, try to be conscious of it. But I think there was something like truly humble is not the word I'm looking for. She was when she was on Bar Pod, for example, right?
Mhm.
When she like came out with this ideological shift at first, she was destabilized, and she was clearly in that moment of destabilization. And I think like maybe unfortunately everything just stabilized around her. Maybe that's why she didn't have to keep going, like because you know they started losing subscribers and people were getting mad at her, but like at a certain point it turned around. And I don't know, like, and that's a good thing. And like Jenk stuck up for her when that's a good thing, you know, like, but when she was on Bar Pod again, there was just this humility, maybe is the right word.
Yeah.
Of just basically like, don't be so sure, you know, like I just believed things, and it does feel like that is gone. And like you're saying, I try to be conscious of that with myself too, because I was in a state of instability when I had my ideological turn, and for a while I really couldn't feel the ground under me. And now I feel the ground more, and I have to check myself to be like, are you just kind of going with the wind, you know, are you back playing on a team again? And I've realized about myself that I like being on a team, and I feel very destabilized when I don't have a team. And I think there's this interesting thing happening too. I was listening to a conversation. It was James Lindsay did a panel on like the woke left and the woke right. And I know woke right's a controversial term, but I think it's obviously describing a real phenomenon. Even if you just use the definition of like, it's basically grievance, you know, with different targets, right? You know, I am so oppressed. Society is putting me down because of my race, gender, and sexual orientation. But instead of it being the brown trans sex worker saying this, right? It's the white Christian straight males. And I don't want to demonize those people at all. And I think a lot of what we're seeing is a reaction to that demonization. But they were talking about like, how can people who have sort of like become woke right, even like the famous, I mean, Tucker, and Candace is a grifter and maybe like her own kind of thing. But it's like, how could people who watched the woke left happen then like fall into the woke right, you know, like people who really like saw it before I saw it and all of these things, like how do they succumb to it? And I don't really have an answer, but I think there's something different between like watching it and experiencing it. And you know, like James Lindsay had a line about like how the purveyors of wokeness, you know, the foot soldiers of wokeness are their biggest victims. And I resonated with that so much, because that's how I see it too, is that most woke people are just true believers. They're not in some conspiracy to like change society and to dismantle the, you know, the nuclear family and all of this. They believe that they are making the world a better place for more humans to be happy and thrive and all of this stuff. And so it's a lot of true believers. And so it's one thing to like see a crazy cult or something from the outside and quite another to like, I don't know, like to be in it and to like, it's another thing to watch people be in it, another thing to pull yourself out of it. And so there were like all of these people who kind of like saw this happening on the left and yet still just walked into the same trap on the right. Grassroots says Sargon of Akkad. And yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a great example. And it's kind of distressing because it's a lot of smart people and thoughtful people.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, it's hard to looking at it from the outside or from like an out-group perspective. I think it's probably a lot easier to see. And now it's probably a lot easier to see since we've named some of the things. And I think some of the reason why people on the right are probably doing or going towards the same thing is because, you know, it worked, it was effective, it was powerful, and you know, that's a motivation unto itself, you know. So now it's just like another tool in the toolkit, if you will, this type of, you know.
Well, and some of them are saying that explicitly, including Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, right? He came out with this thing like the problem with the woke left wasn't the woke part, it was the left part. And there are these like post-liberal thinkers feels like a strong word for some of these people, although Carl's a thinker, he's thoughtful, even if I disagree with his conclusions lately. But sorry, I forgot where I was going with that. Thinkers, post-liberal people, I don't know. But yeah, okay, sorry. I don't know where I was going with that.
No, it's all good. It's sorry, just making sure my kids are getting home. So there's text coming in.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, the problem with the woke wasn't necessarily what was happening. It was like it was on the wrong side, essentially.
Right.
Like the wrong people were using those tools and
to the wrong ends in some way. Yeah. Right.
I suppose, but you know, that's I don't know. Anti-authoritarian on all the sides, right? So, so I kind
but
of.
The post-liberal right, and maybe the post-liberal left to it, are certainly, certainly parts of it. I mean, if we're going to consider, I feel even silly calling Hassan Piker part of the post-liberal movement, because I think there are other people in this movement who are actually like, they have thought themselves into this. Hassan is an actual retard. Like he's not, he didn't come to this from sophistication, right? He like fell into this because it was just like edgy, and because he's like Turkish, literally, like it was like those confluence of factors. But a lot of people on the post-liberal left and right, including Hassan Piker, are not anti-authoritarian at all. They're just like explicitly not. And I mean, Carl as an example, and they wouldn't call it authoritarianism, but they are like pushing for monarchism. And I mean, some of these people come from monarchy, right? So it's a little bit different. But they are, they want the strong man. And the left is talking about this too. I mean, even in a mainstream way, in a less explicit way, but like when they're talking about like, you know, this was like a whole big live and learn thing of like the left should just, when the left gets power, they should just use executive authority in the exact same way, and they should, you know, they should just push things through and like deal with the consequences later. And so yeah, it does seem like it's like the squishy centrists who are the only anti-authoritarians really left here.
That's awful. That's like fucking so depressing. Just thinking about that, you know, I just, as somebody who's like so fundamentally anti-authoritarian, like in my bones, you know what I mean? That's hard to coming at you on all sides, and everyone's just like ready to weaponize it for their own gain. It's just like, we all know it's better for you, don't worry. Immediately makes me want to run, you know. But I Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where it all goes now. You know what I mean? There's but
I think this was a good conversation. We should probably wrap, but I'm feeling I'm motivated by this conversation. I want to talk again soon, so maybe we can get something together before next week, even another stream. I'll check my schedule, but if we can coordinate something, that'd be cool because I think we're on a good track here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm around and
Cool.
I can talk this stuff out, and yeah, I think we'll talk after we have some ideas for some videos coming up. I know we want to talk about like we said, we touched on our friend PF Young and some of
fallen
our
fans. We are fallen fans of PF Young.
Not mad at you, Paul. We're just sad at you. So,
Yeah, like I have to do the cringe thing where I tell a stranger on the internet that I'm disappointed in them. I hate that, but whatever. I'll be the Jewish mother if I need to be. Okay, cool. So you and I will touch base. Hopefully we can get another stream out there before next week, but if not, then definitely next week.
Yeah. We'll do that. And where can people find you, Tali?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Tali Botz, TaliBotz. I'm going to be reading aloud and recording a book that my friend Phil Illy wrote, Auto Heterosexual. It's a book about trans, basically about what he defines as the most common type of trans. And he wrote this book a couple of years ago, and I think it's an incredible resource, and there's no audiobook yet. And so I just checked in with him, and he's cool with me recording myself reading it. So I'm going to be doing that. That'll be fun for me and maybe interesting for some of you guys out there.
That's great. And you're going to put that up on your...
I'm going to put it up on my page. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And if you're seeing this, you're here, Morally Loaded on YouTube and Not in Line on X, and send me money in PayPal if you want to support the channel, because we're baby YouTube channel right now. And I may be doing something, not reading, but I may read court docs for a class action I'm in on the channel in the next little bit, but I'll have to see.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, but just, maybe throw it up there because they're long and people, maybe it would benefit other people who are in it to hear them also, other than having to read through them. But that
a lot of people
coming up
process information better through hearing it, and they're just able to pay attention better. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and we will be back soon. So
yes,
thank you guys.
Watch this space.
Yeah. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.